Welcome to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you doing, Matt?
Oh, I'm pretty good, so are you?
I am good. I have taken on board and noticed that no one watches the YouTube version of this show. And not many people watch the YouTube version of The Icons of Sin either, so I've spent a bit of time this week messing around with it. There's only so far I can go with an audio podcast of two old guys moaning about movies. But I've tried to make it look a bit more interesting for people, so hopefully that'll help. I don't know. But, how are we doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
You know, same old as it is at the moment.
Absolutely. It is consistent, if nothing else. Although today's... I got asked in by my boss today. He needed to see me for a meeting. I was like, oh, that's cool. Wow. And I was like, that's fine. But, of all the days you could have picked, I am absolutely soaked. It's like, it's been summer for like 6 months. Could you not have asked me over then? But yeah, all good. So what are we talking about today, Matt?
We are talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I don't know why I always ask this. It's in the title of...
That's true. Well,
of the thing. But... It's also now with this new layout absolutely obvious what we're talking about, but it's fun, isn't it? This, it's a bit of fun. Yes, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Before we start this, I've got to say, I put the DVD in because I haven't watched Raiders for a long time.
Yeah, same here.
A couple of years. I put the DVD in, and the DVD release I've got is the one that's got the trailer for the cinema release of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, right, okay.
And I've got to say, it's one hell of a trailer. Like, I remember why we were suckered into that movie now. Like, that trailer, even watching the trailer, I got excited. It's so well made. I was like, oh, this is like...
I don't remember the trailer at all.
It goes through all of his previous exploits, and it's like, oh, he found the Ark, he did this, and he did that.
Okay.
And it's all like... And then it's really, like, kind of builds to the crescendo of the music, and then it cuts to the scene of him picking up the hat and putting the hat on, and then the main theme starts and stuff. It's awesome. It's a really good trailer. Crap film, but... What a trailer.
I don't know. I still like that.
It's got moments. It's got moments.
There are many flaws, but
oh yeah.
I mean, it gets mostly extra points from me just for bringing Marion back. So
yeah, it's good they did that. It's not entirely terrible, but
no.
It can always have been. I think the problem is it's mediocre.
Yeah.
And Indiana Jones should never be mediocre. Indiana Jones should be absolutely glorious.
Yeah. I think it's... I mean, I don't want to put it squarely at Shia LaBeouf, but there is a lot wrong with his character.
You probably could, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, exactly. It's not his fault. He didn't,
No.
No. He was just doing a job.
Was given, so, And I think the problem is actually, at that point, that is when he was being his most annoying, I think. Because apparently him and Ford did not get on.
Did they not?
No, apparently not. I think Ford thought he was an arrogant twat, basically.
Right. Do you know, over the years, I've come to really like Shia LaBeouf. I think certainly some of his roles, when he's in the right role, he is really good.
Yeah, and I think I like a lot of his early stuff, because I think he was a really, he showed... I think
he just went off the rails a bit.
Promised, and then exactly, I think... He just, and I don't think it's his fault. I think it's a combination of factors to do with his parents and just being a young actor. I think is, and being in Hollywood, that's enough to drive probably anybody in fucking sane eventually. But
most likely,
yeah, I think he certainly seems to have sorted himself out a bit more now, and I haven't watched it yet, but there's on Amazon at the moment they've got Honey Boy. And I've already put it on my list to watch, so I'll probably review that next week, next thingy.
Sounds good to me.
So yeah, so I still, he is a problem in that movie, but he's not the only problem in that movie.
No, certainly not. Those goddamn monkeys with their
oh dear,
their slick haircuts and oh no, the greaser haircut monkeys and too much CGI, but there is some good in there. Kate Blanchett's amazing.
Yeah, I love Kate Blanchett.
Awesome.
I think some people say she's too over the top, but I think
no.
But the villains
that's what I wanted
to be over the top.
We'll get into that because they are very over the top in Raiders. And God, have you ever seen Temple of Doom?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mola Ram. But in any case, we are here to talk about Raiders of the Lost Ark. And do you have any initial thoughts before we get started on Raiders, or should we just dive straight in?
Well, I think with when I was a kid, I think Temple of Doom was my favourite as a kid.
Was it? That's awesome. I don't know anyone that says that, so that's really interesting.
I think it was because of Short Round.
Short Round's awesome.
Because I love Short Round and I love the Goonies, so having him along I love.
See, Short Round made it amazing, but is it Willie or whatever her name is?
I was gonna say about that, but I mean, first of all, you got Short Round, and it's probably bloodier than.
Oh, it's definitely bloodier, it's got the coolest villain. Mola Ram is cool.
Yeah,
cool as hell.
You know, there's all that sort of stuff, and then as I got sort of older, you sort of realise. Actually, this movie is just nowhere near as good as Raiders. It really isn't.
But it is still good.
And like you just said, one of the main reasons is Willie. She is just so annoying.
Her shrieking is just it cuts through me, man.
She spends almost the entire movie just screeching.
Yep. Yeah, it's
so annoying. It's amazing what you can ignore as a kid, isn't it? I mean,
you just don't notice these things as a kid. Like, you don't notice the racial stereotypes or any of that stuff. I mean, that movie's probably on a blacklist now, isn't it? I would have thought.
Temple of Doom. It must be. I imagine they
certainly for the like, you know, the dining scenes and stuff. I would imagine. But love Temple
I imagine
of Doom.
It's probably going to get one of those intro bloody things, isn't it? This problematic. You know,
this warning. This movie is problematic.
Yeah.
Well, this is why we own DVDs.
Exactly.
So, 1986?
81.
Sorry, what am I talking about? 86. I think I was thinking of Temple. Yes, 81. And we begin with a wonderful character introduction. I think.
Absolutely. Another great character introduction. You know,
I think this movie does one of the best. It's one of the best at setting up character that I've seen.
Oh yeah!
Like every scene in this movie, not just this one. When we're introduced to Marion, like every scene where we're introduced to a character, when we're introduced to Salah, like they're all the characters within the first few minutes. You've seen everything there is to know about the character.
So it's so good. I mean, I think Indy's introduction is great, but Marion's is so much better.
Marion's is amazing. But
Marion's is fantastic.
But what I love about this scene, and the scene opens with Indiana basically entering this old temple, looking to retrieve this artifact.
And you don't see his face for the first couple of minutes.
A wonderful.
You see his hands and his silhouette and stuff, and
they love the
get
silhouette.
the interaction. Yeah, you get the interactions between the two guys that are with him, like Alfred Molina is one and the other guy, and
I think this was his first film, wasn't it, or his first major film?
It must be. I can't think it would have been anything else before this, but it probably was. Yeah, if anything, probably just small parts again. But yeah, it's certainly the first time I remember seeing him, I think.
Sure. Yeah. So he's going to get this artifact, which is, I believe, the idol of this tribe, which we'll very soon discover. But this setup, I mean, the sets I really love. I know obviously it's all soundstage. A lot of it is soundstage, and obviously so. Yeah. But I really love that because it harkens back to that serial kind of thing that they were going for anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what they wanted to do. Yeah.
I really love the over-the-top look with that kind of, fog and cobwebs and all of that stuff. As a classic horror fan, I dig all of that anyway, and I love that look. But I do think it's a perfect introduction to the character. Within the first 5 minutes. It's
actually quite funny because I rewatched it with my wife.
Yeah.
And when the introduction happened, she was like, "Why haven't they showed us his face yet? Why are they doing this?" Well, it's like,
no.
Jesus, it's like it's to build tension, darling.
Cinematography. But within like 5 minutes, we see his smarts, we see his arrogance, his cockiness, his trusting nature, and his fear of snakes. I mean, basically, his whole character, within... You could show someone just that opening, and you'd be like, okay, I know what character Indiana Jones is now.
Yeah.
And how many films can you say that of, where you meet a character and you're like, I know them now.
What's this guy's story? Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
with
completely.
minimal dialogue, barely any dialogue. And they do that.
He barely says a word.
Yeah. Don't step in the light is about the only thing he says, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Because you even get that wonderful moment with the spiders.
Yeah.
And he doesn't say a word in that either. He just brushes the guy off.
Brushes them off.
Just brush these.
Apparently, the spiders weren't. They put a load of spiders on him, and they weren't moving.
Didn't they use a female in the end?
Yeah, they said, well, we'll just put a female in so that all the males will fight over her. It's like, great.
Terrific. Awesome scene. Love the set design. So they slowly make their way through this tomb. I guess it's a tomb or temple.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I'm guessing it's a temple.
A temple. We'll call it a temple. Carefully avoiding the traps, including don't step in the light and things like that. And they swing across the precipice using Indy's whip.
Yep.
And then we get the iconic scene of Indy weighing up the idol visually.
Which I've always found total bull. It's like he looks at that.
He's like, no, that's definitely one handful of sand less.
Yeah, you think, how do you possibly know that? I mean,
the thing is, he gets it wrong.
Gold, exactly. Yeah, it's gold. It's gonna weigh fucking the ton.
The thing is, if he did that and he was right, I would have called bullshit.
That's true.
But it's wonderful because he gets it wrong. Again, it's just adding to his character and he's not flawless.
Infallibility, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I really love that scene, to be honest. I like when he looks at it, it's like, dude, if you were carrying that thing around in your pocket, you would have known that kind of weight. I mean, Golden...
I love Alfred Molina's hands as well. He's like rubbing his
he's like, is this it?
It's brilliant.
I mean, gold in all movies is bullshit when it comes to the weight. It's very rare that someone actually throws someone a gold bar and they catch it as if it's actual gold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that he gets it wrong. I love it. It's a terrific scene. So yes, of course he gets it wrong and it sets off all of the traps. And then we get basically, I love how careful they are going through.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he messes up, he sets off every single trap on the way out. Every single one on the way out. And then, of course, we see his trusting nature when he trusts his partner.
Yep.
And, of course, he gets betrayed.
Again.
Because
he's already been betrayed by the other guy who pulled a gun on him and he used his whip to sort of disarm him and stuff. And then this guy betrays him as well and like tries to run off with the statue.
Yeah.
And basically doesn't give him the whip when they get to the pit sort of thing.
He doesn't get to the whip and then India has to jump it.
Yeah. And then you get another really grim. You know, he catches up with him and he's like got that arrow through his face and stuff. And
I must admit the rating of this movie is surprising.
Yeah, well, apparently originally it was R-rated.
I'm not surprised. I know they put the fire over. Well, we'll get to that later. But
yes.
But like people get like in Marion's bar, a guy gets shot right in the head.
Right in the face, yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Because it's funny when you rewatch these things as an adult. All of this stuff blew over me as a kid, and now we rewatched it. I was like, whoa, I don't remember it being this violent. Like, okay,
it really is. Yeah,
yeah. They're not messing around. But I imagine a lot of those serials are probably quite violent, to be honest. Like before the
30s ones.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's stuff that I used to watch as a kid, but they used to play them on like school holidays and stuff. You know, I've seen quite a lot of those. Like more things like the Flash Gordons and the sort of King of the Rocket Men, but they did show the adventure ones as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't remember them being terribly bloody, but
but
who knows?
They are, yeah. So, Indy obviously. So his partner ignores the advice he was given just now and steps in the light, gets killed.
Into the light.
Indy then retrieves the idol and escapes, only to be met by the villain or one of the villains. I guess the primary villain of the film.
Well, I think Balak is he's the main villain, isn't he? So it's Paul Freeman as Balak, who's basically you get what I like is again through a very small interaction.
Yes, again immediately.
You get what his character's like. You get that he's like Indy's sort of worse,
foil.
And you know, you get the fact that they've clearly been doing this for a long time. You know, they've been going for the same artifacts for years, and it seems that Balak, because he's more willing to do terrible things, seems to win more than Indy does.
And he's willing to let Indy do all the work. He'll just let Indy go in, get everything, and just wait outside. And then he's like, I'll take that from you now. You've done all the work for me. Thank you. And that's kind of a running theme in this film as well, with Balak doing this to him over and over again. So Balak has him there with the tribe. Balak speaks their language, which I think is the only thing that sets him apart from the others. He knows the language, so he obviously speaks to them, holds up the idol, and they worship the idol. He then orders them to kill Indy, but of course he turns his back, and Indy immediately legs it because he knows what's coming. He's like, I know what's coming.
Yeah, he's not stupid.
And then we get that wonderful shot of this. I forget his name. What is his name? The pilot.
Oh, Jock.
Jock, that's right. And he's like fishing. He's caught this big fish, and he's all like, "Oh!" And you get that wonderful moment when Indy's running down with the tribe behind him, and this guy's like, "Oh, but I really want to catch this fish." And he's got a moment where he's like, "Oh, shall I just try and pull it in before he gets here?" And he's like, "Oh no, I better not." So yeah, he jumps in the biplane and with Jock, and Jock takes off, and then we're introduced to Indy's fear of snakes.
Yep.
Why did Jock leave his snake in the front of this plane? Like, it seems like a very bad idea, because that snake might just fly out at any moment while you're flying. Like, it just seems like a very careless thing to do if you love your snake.
It does. It does seem a bit weird. I've always sort of thought about that sort of thing as well. It's like, well, surely
he flew there, right?
That's what I mean. I mean, did he just hire him and they've never met? Because you'd have thought if
he knows him by name.
Yeah, so you think, well, surely you would know that he flies around with a snake.
You would think so, or that Indy doesn't like snakes, and maybe that's. I'm assuming that Jock's kind of taking the piss a bit.
Maybe
because he knows Indy, and he's like, "Oh, this will shit him up."
I guess so. I didn't think of it.
I mean, he's lucky that Indy didn't just jump in there and squash it. To be honest.
Yeah.
But either way, it's a wonderful scene, and then we obviously know Indy now. We know his fear of snakes. We know everything about him, and of course he escapes. And we then discover that he's a school teacher.
Yeah, college professor.
College professor, yes. And,
and I love the scene with him in the classroom and all the girls just swooning over him. It's so funny.
I love
the girl with the "love you" written on her eyelids.
Which I don't know how that would work, because if I was at the front of a class and you're like, however far back you are, I'm not going to be able to read that at all. I wouldn't even notice. No. I doubt I would even notice. I'd just be like, what? Like, but I love how awkward he is.
Yeah. And I think actually this is the other thing, is when he's like as a professor, he is actually like almost a different person.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, he's in school mode.
Yeah, he's not quite so cocksure. He's a bit more nerdy, if you like, and
it's certainly in front of his students. He's straight, plays it straight. With Marcus, who we're introduced to here as well, wonderfully played by Denham Elliott.
I think that's one of the great strengths of Raiders is all the sub characters, all like him and Salah, and all those characters are so good.
Absolutely, and I was so pleased when we had Marcus back, and Marcus really comes into his own in Last Crusade.
Yes. He's brilliant in Last Crusade.
He is fantastic, but a wonderful character. But Indy is more like Indiana, with Marcus.
Yes.
So they're hired.
And as he tells him that they he didn't get the idol, but he's got these other little things.
Yeah, he's like, please.
And Marcus is just giving them a glance and is like, yeah, well, they'll go in the museum, but they're a bit rubbish,
Yeah, it's like, come on, dude. It's not why you went over there.
Yeah.
So they are then tasked by I'm not sure whether it's government agents or the military or who it is.
Well, I think one of them's
or both.
One's a major and one's a colonel, so they must be. I presume they're military.
Yeah.
And of course, we get our old friend William Hootkins again.
We do, yes.
are who we've talked about on the numerous occasions, as you know, with Porkins and
he pops up. Batman, Batman.
yeah.
He's in
And what I did,
bunch of stuff.
I was looking him up, and he's actually in an episode of Blackadder.
Is he really?
Yeah,
I wonder what
the
episode he's
drinking
in.
episode in season 2 with the he's the monk.
Is he?
Yeah, with the boob, with the
I'm gonna have to rewatch
the
that
devil's
episode now.
dumplings and that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember the episode.
The White Adder. White
Yeah.
Adder is the episode. Yeah, he's
I'm
the
gonna have
monk in that. It's like brilliant.
I'm
I
gonna
did
have to
not
look
know that.
up. No, I didn't know that. So, the military are aware that something's going on. The Nazis are investigating something.
Yeah, they've been sort of getting intercepting messages from the Nazis, and they mention Ravenwood, who was Indy's teacher.
Yes.
In a lot of his archaeology stuff, and that obviously the military are like, well, these guys are like, well, we don't know why they would want him, but it's like an American with the Nazis. It all seems a bit weird, and basically Jones says, well, if they've got him, that it's to do with his, you know, his all of his obsessions with the Ark, and you know, I was never that big on it, but
I think they do. Don't they translate a couple of the words or locations to work out that it is the Ark that they're after for sure? I think.
Yes.
But yeah, so they obviously realise that it's the Ark, which is really funny because there's some real inconsistencies come up with the sequels / prequel during these moments in the movie, which is fine. It's like nitpicks more than anything. But one of them is that because it's like, oh my. Your dad was so obsessed with the Holy Grail, but he never gave a shit about the Ark. Like he just just completely ignored that. Ravenwood was the Ark, and like you know.
Well, I guess we all have our
obsessions,
I suppose. You know, if you focus on one specific item, I suppose. I mean, you would have thought they would have similar. You know, they're all to do with.
There's some crossover there, right?
The Christian God. Yeah, it is a bit weird, but I don't know. You know, I guess it's just what you specialise in, I suppose.
Yes, I guess so. I
think the thing is also, it always seems to be that after he was a kid, he didn't actually have much to do with his father anyway.
That's true. So I guess he had more to do with Ravenwood than he did with Senior.
Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess. What makes less sense, however, is obviously now tasked by the military to go and retrieve the Grail. Marcus and Indy have this wonderful moment where they're talking about the mission at hand, and you know, Indy pulls out the gun and he says, "You know, I'm a cautious man," and you know, all that kind of stuff. It's great. But he says
that's also when he mentions after he's spoken to the two guys, and he's packing for the sort of thing. That's when he mentions Marion as well, and that he was obviously involved with his
Ravenwood's daughter.
His Ravenwood's daughter.
Yeah. But he also says here, he's like, oh, you know, I don't believe in all of that magic mumbo jumbo. And it's like, that's fine, but then Temple of Doom is meant to be a prequel. And it's like, when you they really should have thought that through. It's like really, after Mola Ram like possessed you and tried voodooing you and ripping people's hearts out and stuff, like, you don't believe in magic?
I don't have clear memories of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, but I'm sure there's some sort of magic-y stuff turns up in those.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
It is a little odd.
It's a bit strange. I mean, it works, I guess, because this was the introduction, but it's weird that in future movies they kind of ignored that line.
Yeah.
Because I would have said after surviving Temple of Doom, it would be almost impossible to be like, I don't believe in magic, it's all mumbo jumbo. Like, really?
Yeah, because I think Temple of Doom is set a year before,
something like that, isn't it? Yeah.
The Raiders, so it's
Not that I'm shitting on Temple of Doom. It's a good film. Just saying, it's a weird inconsistency. But
I'd always wonder what happened to Short Round though. They've never said what happened to Short Round.
Well, I always hoped that they'd do one with like a grown-up Short Round.
That's cool. What I was hoping for.
Like if they did like Indy 5 or they should have done it with Crystal Skull, but if they did Indy 5 and Short Round was the kind of primary protagonist, and then we've got Indy is the kind of, Marcus character, I guess. Well, I guess you'd still want him to be doing stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they still keep saying they're doing another one, so
I think he's going to be a CGI mess.
you reckon?
Yeah, I think they're gonna. Well, there's rumors that they're doing this with Luke Skywalker as well, isn't there? So I think they might do Harrison Ford, young Indiana Jones CG thing.
Oh no!
But we'll see. Who knows? It's all rumor at this point, so who knows?
I didn't know that.
I heard that rumor. Yeah, it does sound awful. I fear that in their desperate attempts to get fans back onto Disney's side, they might overcompensate and do something very silly. But in any case, this was long before Disney messed anything up.
Yeah.
And so he's off to meet Ravenwood.
Yeah.
And we get the wonderful map overlays.
Yes.
I love them so much.
I still utterly adore that.
I love it. It's
map
such
travel is so great.
A wonderful addition, and such a wonderful method of showing passage of time and travel. I love it so much. I think it's absolutely terrific. So then we get to one of your favourite scenes. It's Marion's introduction, and she downs like a ludicrous amount of shots.
Yeah, I do always think there's you know, even though she's like obviously she's a hard drinker, I still think she should be way more pissed than she is.
She immediately loses her drunkenness as well.
Yeah,
like immediately. I know adrenaline will help.
Sort of a little bit wobbly, but nowhere near as wobbly as she should be. That was a lot of alcohol. She's just drunk.
A hell of a lot of alcohol. I did find that a bit funny. Yeah, so Marion's drinking opposite this woman.
It's a bloke. Yeah,
could go either way. Just he obviously drinks. I love that moment where they all cheer for him, and he takes a drink. He's like, and then just collapses.
Slowly falls off the chair.
But keeping the smile, because he laughs, and then he keeps that smile, and then just drops. It's wonderful, wonderful shot. And then of course Indiana walks in, and we get another wonderful silhouette.
We get another shadow thing. He does like his shadow intros, doesn't he?
I love them. I absolutely adore them.
Fantastic.
It looks incredible. So Indy tries to catch up with Marion. He asks where Ravenwood is. Ravenwood's dead, I think.
Yeah.
At this point. Yeah. And Indy says that he needs the
headpiece.
The headpiece. Thank you. The yes, there is a name for it. I just can't think what it is. The top of the staff. It'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, in any case, So he needs the staff.
Yeah.
The staff piece.
And I don't think it ever properly says what happened between them. It basically says at some point Indy sort of left them for some reason, and he says, "You know why I had to do it," but I don't think they ever really go into details of what exactly happened.
No, I don't think they do. I assumed it might have been Mr. Ravenwood had issues with it, but
yeah, there's that. It sounds almost like he betrayed them and walked away.
Yeah,
which is so, you know, and she gives him that punch, which is brilliant.
Maybe it's because like Indy is just a bit of a mess.
Yeah,
as a person, and he was like, I need to leave her because like I'm just going to ruin her life if I stay.
Maybe.
And then not knowing, obviously, like, you know, because she even says, like, I was a girl, you crushed me. You know, like, because he was her first love, right? It's heavily insinuated that he was her first love, and she's completely crushed by this. So yeah, she's like, oh, you know, I was a little girl, you know, crushed me when you left and whatever. And yeah, they never really go into detail, but I kind of like that, to be honest. I don't think we need to know. We just need to know that there is history. We don't need to know what happened or why.
That is true.
And then the most terrifying Nazi man.
Well, we get the like he says he'll pay for it. He gives her money.
Yes, of course. He gives her like
$3,000, I think, isn't it?
Like $3,000 or $5,000, which, you know, we're talking like the like 30s, right? It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
A lot of money in 36. Yeah, and she says, "Come back tomorrow." So he leaves, and then you get the introduction.
That's right. Sorry, yes, he leaves. He does.
That's when you get the introduction of is it Toth?
I thought it was Arnold, Major Arnold or something. I thought, but
No, it's Toth, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know. Either way,
Yeah.
that terrifying Nazi man,
Yes.
who, as a kid, this guy was the creepiest guy in the world.
Yeah. He's just horrible. He's kind of the typical Gestapo guy, isn't he? He just looks like he just crawled out from a rock somewhere. And also, it's like basically his character would have been played by Peter Lorre if this was the actual 30s.
Yes,
You just know that his character would be Peter Lorre. And he obviously he offers this he wants money. He says, "We'll pay you more," sort of thing. He goes, "Oh, actually, well, we're just going to torture you," basically.
Yeah.
And then you get Indy comes back, and you get that really cool fight, that shootout. Which again, the guy shoots the guy in the face. It's bloody as hell.
It is, yeah. That was the one shot that really surprised me in this movie. I was like, wow, that was. Whew. They weren't messing around there.
No, and you get a full sort of, of the guy stood there looking, before he goes down. It's like, wow, that's a lot of detail. Wow.
Yeah, it is. So during the fight, the Grail,
the medallion,
piece, the medallion, the Grail.
You keep saying the Grail. Yeah,
I know. I keep saying the Grail because I've got Last Crusade on the mind.
Yeah.
The medallion falls into the fire or into some fire.
Marion had put it on a piece of something on the table.
It's like a piece of wood or something, isn't it? It's like an ornate piece of wood.
And it falls into the fire.
I love how they're all having this conversation about the Grail while the Grail is in plain sight over there. They just no one noticed it. It's amazing.
The headpiece.
Sorry, fucking hell. Yes.
And it's exactly. And not once do they look over and see that and go. It's like it's just there. It's there. You could just pick it up.
It's literally there, dude. Go get your. Go get the piece. So it falls into the fire, and the evil Nazi guy grabs it with his hand and burns his hands. And
runs away.
Runs out into the snow and never comes back.
Yes.
He just runs out there and he doesn't come back after that. I guess because he's lost his men and Indy's arm, so he probably thought, well, I'll probably just get killed if I go back now. Plus, it probably really, really hurt, I would imagine.
I imagine so, yeah.
So he runs out of the bar. The rest of the goons are either killed or knocked out. And the bar is set on fire and is like literally burning down as they leave.
She loses all her money.
Yeah, all of her money and her bar, which she doesn't seem that bothered about at all.
Well, she says to him,
she's on about like 3-4 grand, but
well, she says, yeah, you owe me $5,000, and I'm staying with you until you pay, basically.
Yes.
So you do sort of get that. She, so.
But isn't that the money he owed her anyway?
Yes.
I mean, I would have added the cost of the bar on top of that.
Absolutely.
I would have been like, you owe me a lot more. But I guess she's still very infatuated with him. She's still very much in love with him. So I guess it's, there is that element as well. But I always find it funny that she doesn't seem that bothered about her whole bar and life burning down.
No, I guess.
Like, okay.
You get the sort of impression that maybe she's sort of quite itinerant anyway. So
yeah.
Maybe it's just another one of those. Oh well, that's over. I'll just move on to the next thing.
Also, I don't know why. Just briefly going back to something so pointless, but it's always bothered me. The first time I watched this movie, it bothered me, and it still bothers me now. And I don't know if it bothered you as much. Probably not. I don't think it bothers anyone as much as it bothers me. When she's clearing up the shot glasses and she leaves one on the table, and I'm like, why did you do that? And then eventually, and I don't know whether she made a mistake when she was cleaning them all up and then she saw it and went back, or whether it's a conscious choice, but it always bugs the hell out of me that she leaves that one glass. It's like the OCD in me is like, just pick it up.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. That is quite funny. I think when she's clearing the glasses away, I think the whole thing with that though is she's clearly distracted by him.
Of course, yeah.
It's probably just the fact that she's not really paying attention to what she's doing.
No, that's true. So Marion and Indy are now off to Nepal, right?
No, they're in Nepal. They're off to Cairo.
They went to Nepal. They're off to Cairo. That's right. Yeah. So they're off to Cairo, and when they get there, we are introduced to Salah, another wonderful, wonderful character in the Indiana Jones series.
Yeah.
John Rhys-Davies, again, amazing in this. Probably my favourite John Rhys-Davies role, actually, I think.
Yeah, he's so fucking cool.
He's just amazing.
Brilliant. Originally, of course, it was going to be Danny DeVito.
Which I cannot imagine.
No. Well, I mean, if we're talking about casting, look at... Originally, Tom Selleck was Indy.
I can see that. See, that I can see.
I've seen the test screening. The test for Tom Selleck is against Sean Young.
Is it really?
Yeah, so it's him and Sean Young, and she obviously didn't get the role, but he did, and basically he couldn't do it because of his commitment to Magnum.
Yes. Now, funny enough, there is an episode.
Done the pilot.
There is an episode of Magnum PI which makes fun of Indiana Jones, or it's like kind of a parody of Indiana Jones. And it is basically Raiders of the Lost Ark with Tom Selleck, which is really funny to think that he almost got the role, and then he ended up basically doing like an almost a send-up of Raiders later. I can see him. I can't see Danny DeVito as Salah. I just think it would have been a very different character if he had.
I think so. I think it would have been entirely different. I don't know whether it would have been so endearing.
Not at all. Although Danny DeVito can be endearing, but
I like that. I like Danny DeVito, but he does play quite abrasive characters a lot of the time.
I think that's what he's good at, right?
Yeah. So I don't think he would have been quite so lovable.
No.
As John Rhys-Davies makes him.
I think you're right. So sorry, go on.
Salah. We get introduced to Salah and his many children.
And his many, many children. We don't know where they come from, but they're all there. His many children.
I love that shot of Cairo when they're on the
beautiful.
Sort of
the cinematography in this movie is incredible.
Yeah, I mean they had to
get that off the bat.
They had to go and get all. They went out and took down all the aerials from the houses to make that shot look like the 30s,
and it worked.
And can you imagine like being sat in your house and somebody comes and says, "Oh, do you mind if we?" Yeah, they must have paid them.
They must have paid them. I would.
They must have paid a lot of money to get all these people to like take all their aerials down.
I should think
and I presume they put them back up afterwards. So you know,
they're probably like, "We'll give you an upgrade. You'll get better ones."
I mean, these days you just wipe them out with.
You just
don't you? So
it's a 2-second job nowadays, but back then it's not so easy.
No.
That's why when you see a lot of you see older films, like you see like Omega Man, for example.
Oh yeah.
And you've got those wonderful shots of abandoned New York, I think it is. But when you look over the water, you can still see cars driving in the distance because they just like, what are they going to do? Like nowadays you're just like digital, done, removed. Not so easy back then, and it is a wonderful shot. You're right, that shot of Cairo is incredible. And then we get a wonderful moment where we're introduced to this monkey.
Yes.
The monkey. Now the monkey is working for the Nazis.
Yeah.
And what I love
is the little Nazi monkey.
The Nazi monkey I love, but do you know what I love the most is once we're introduced to the monkey, he runs away and he meets up with the eye patch guy.
Yes.
Who's working for the Nazis. And the eye patch guy's like, "Hell Hitler." And then they salute, the Nazis salute him back. And then the monkey salutes, does the same salute, and the Nazi guy responds to him.
Yeah.
He responds to the monkey. And he's like, "Okay, monkey." I love that. It's just a little thing, but it just makes me laugh every time I see it. I'm like, that Nazi soldier just saluted the monkey because the monkey saluted him. It's like, okay, sure.
Apparently that took like 50 takes.
Sure.
And I think in the end they used a grape just out of sight, so he's basically reaching
for a grape. That makes sense.
Yeah. And one of my favourite things about the monkey, he's voiced by Frank Welker.
Is he voiced?
Yes, the monkey, the tweet, the little.
I didn't know that.
Things. Yeah, so he's voiced by Frank Welker, the voice of Megatron.
Yeah.
Who also did the voice of Apu in.
Oh well, that makes perfect sense now.
Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin.
Well, that makes perfect sense now. They're like, "Well, you've played a monkey already."
Exactly, yeah, it does sound like the same. So yeah, there you go.
That's interesting.
I just love the fact that Megatron is a monkey.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know that. So Salah basically explains what's been going on.
Yep. how the Nazis have been like basically just taking all the people from the village and
to go dig and to go do whatever
dig.
they're doing.
Yeah.
And then we're taken to the marketplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we get a wonderful. I'm a fan of good slapstick comedy.
I think that was one of the things I'd forgotten the most, actually, when I rewatched this the other day, was I'd forgotten how knockabout the fight scenes are sometimes.
Oh yeah. This scene in particular.
About that. Yeah, that one it's full on Marx
comedy.
Brothers.
It
like,
is.
Yeah.
It is. It's complete slapstick comedy, and I love it. I think it's wonderful. It's a wonderful scene, and what I really like about it, which well, actually we'll get to that in a moment, but it's a wonderful slapstick comedy fight. We also get the swordsman versus the gun scene, the iconic Indiana scene, which is terrific.
Which I think the funny things about that is when you see because obviously they filmed it, they'd done like test stuff for it before they actually came to film it.
Yeah.
So you can see the actual overall fight scene with him in the whip. He's using the whip against the guy, and it's like he chops this table and stuff with the sword, and you get this, and then it just completely got taken over because everybody except for Steven Spielberg basically got food poisoning in Cairo.
Is that
right?
It
was like, yeah, they all got, and the only reason Spielberg didn't because he was eating food out of tins that he got shipped over from England.
Yeah.
So everybody else got basically dysentery or whatever, and
it's a very easy thing to do when you go to different countries like that, and you're eating very different foods, very different bugs and things going around.
Yeah,
and it's an easy thing to do.
So that's why so obviously you get the obviously the famous indie. He was just, can I just shoot the guy?
Yeah, I love it. It works so well, especially because of it's not, it's one of those things that I think nowadays, if they did that in a film now, if Hollywood did that now, it would be so overplayed. And,
I think it has
like
been,
the look on Indy's face would have been so overplayed, and he would have been like, And what I love about it is that he just barely gives it a look. He's like, just bang. I can't be bothered. It is like I cannot be bothered with this moment.
You can clearly see that he's not well though, because he's sweating like hell, and he's really sort of like looked massively hot.
He does, but then it kind of works because it's Cairo.
Yes,
it's really hot, and they've been running around and God knows what. It kind of works,
Yeah.
But that and
I do feel sorry for the guy though, because he's hired to do this like full-on fight scene, and then he just gets shot and falls over in the actual.
He must have been like, well, can I at least swing the sword around a bit first? Show my skills a bit.
Yeah, because obviously he must have been practicing loads before the thing, and then he just doesn't.
Well, I mean, I think stuntmen practice stuff like that over and over and over and over, don't they? Loads and loads. It must be real heartbreaking when they get scenes cut like that, because they're like, God, the amount of work they must have put in to then never make it to film. But I mean, you got to say he didn't have to injure himself that day. And,
no, that's true.
And he will be remembered forever as that guy.
Yes.
And you're right. It is a scene that gets aped an awful lot in the future. I mean, like Batman, similar scene. Quite a few scenes where that kind of stuff happens. And as far as I know, that's where it kind of started. Was there with that real iconic scene. I love that scene. One thing I was going to say that I really love, which we're getting to now, is we've got all this slapstick comedy going on, and we're having fun. And then Marion hides in a basket and all that stuff's good fun. And then she dies.
And it's such up, and you're like, what the hell?
But it's such a great contrast. I love that. I love that we were just having fun, and it was all silly, and it was like there's no weight to any of this. Like it's all nothing bad will ever happen, and then it's like, oh my God. And she stays like she's not dead. Spoilers, but the illusion of her death is kept for a long time. A long time.
And I think that's one of the things that is so jarring about this the slapstick nature of the fight is that. You've already seen sort of horrific things happen.
Yes.
You've already seen people get shot in the face and people get skewered. So when you get this sort of weird knockabout thing, it's quite almost jarring to see. And then all of a sudden,
it is jarring, but I kind of like it. I think you're either going to like or hate this, because it's a very strange change of tone. but I think it really lends itself to the end of the scene where she supposedly dies.
Yeah.
It's such a shock. You're like, oh my god, she just got blown up.
And then I love in the next scene where Indy is just, he's devastated.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because you kind of you get that scene where he's drinking.
Yeah.
He's had like half a bottle of something, or God knows what.
Balak turns up and he says to him about the God and stuff, and he says, "Oh, you want to go see your God? Let's go together right now." And you think, "Wow, he's really pissed off."
Yeah. But what I love about that scene is it, like I said, I love how drawn out this death is.
Yeah.
Because you almost, with like modern cinema in mind, you'd expect Marion to turn up when he was drinking.
Yeah.
Like immediately just turn up when he was drinking. It was like, I was in the other one. What are you talking about? And I love that they, there's none of that. He's mourning.
I mean, they do set up that scene like when they're carrying the basket and they go to the lorry, and you look in the back of the lorry and it's just full of ammo and explosives and guns. Yeah. And you think, Christ, one shot is just going to take that entire thing out. Yeah, that is a ridiculous amount of shit they've got in the back of that lorry.
Yes, yeah. Not the place to store a person.
No, and then as it turns out, yes, it does blow up quite nicely.
It does blow up extremely well. So yes, you're right. We have Indy in mourning, and Salah joins him in mourning.
Well, what I do like is that he's completely surrounded in that place by all the sort of like Nazis and Nazi sympathizers, and basically he gets out because Salah's children turn up and basically drag him out. Uncle Indy. You hear these, like kids, like he's got like a human shield of kids like walking him out. It's brilliant.
And I like because all of the Nazi sympathizers just start laughing. They're like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. So he's saved, and they then go to see someone. I guess he's just like a local who can read the language, or a historian who can read the language.
Yeah, that's on the headpiece. So
he reads the headpiece, and I love that when he reads the headpiece out loud, you get the ominous wind blowing through.
I think that's one of those things as well. Is he keeps when he gets that thing where he says, "Oh, I don't believe in all the mumbo jumbo and stuff," and yet throughout the movie, you just every time they mention stuff, you get like ominous wind blasts and sort of like darkening clouds and stuff, and you think, yeah, this is not just mumbo jumbo. This is serious shit going down here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you kind of know at the moment that he's like, I don't believe in any of this magic nonsense. Yeah. You kind of know that it's going to end up being magic. But I do like that it is foreshadowed throughout this entire film that you are dealing with the genuine thing here. This is genuinely the resting place of the Ten Commandments, and it is genuinely a holy relic. And scenes like this where you get that ominous wind come through and stuff, I really like that.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that they've you get the where he says to him, about the warning, don't do the temple and stuff, and it says of like, oh, this is how tall the staff has to be, and it says, oh, it has to be this tall, and then on the back it says, and take away one.
It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah, it's like it's something that you really don't think like anybody would do, but it works for the film.
It does work for the film. So the idea is that the Nazi guy burned his hands, and they used the burn in his hands, the imprint in his hands, to forge a fake headpiece. But of course, they've only got one side.
Have the back. Yeah, they don't have the back. So they were lucky that he got the front and not the back in the first place, really.
Well, if they got the back, it would have just said, and take away one.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what the hell does that mean? Yeah. That would have been as embarrassing as hell.
Although I guess it would have tipped them off that they definitely needed the other side.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess that's what it would have done. Yeah. So they've got their staff the wrong length.
Yes.
And as a result, so the idea is that this staff is put in a specific location.
Like it's a model of the city of I forget what the name of this city was.
I'm not sure.
Egyptian city, wherever it was, and on a certain time of day, is it 9 o'clock or something? The sun will come through, beam through the. I mean,
it must be a certain time of day at a certain time of year as
well.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it's like 9 o'clock apparently, but something like that. And basically,
but that's going to change through the year. That's not going to be consistent.
It will. No.
But whatever.
Yes.
Tanis.
That's it. Tanis. Yes. And
thanks, Wikipedia.
It will reveal where the where the Grail was placed. And of course,
Yeah.
the Germans have got the wrong place, so they're all busy digging the other side. And
Yes.
then Indy, what I thought was annoying about this is Indy breaks the staff in two and then just throws it down. It's like
Yeah.
if you even if, like, you know, what does happens, you'd have thought, well, that's not exactly, you know. My wife said, break it in three and take one of the pieces.
Or just take
You know,
it.
it's just
take it with you. Burn
exactly.
it. You know,
do whatever,
I mean,
but just don't bloody break it in two and leave it there.
yeah. So Indy gets into the temple crypt or room where this stuff is. He sneaks in, and he uses the staff at the right time of day, and it shows him the correct location, the resting place of the Ark.
Yeah.
And where to dig, basically. And as we said, they've got the wrong size staff, so they're digging in the wrong place.
Yeah.
We're then told or shown that Marion is still alive.
Yes.
She's with Balak, who gets her to wear a dress. It's all very creepy. Although I like that she's just like, fat chance, and then she's like, fuck it, all right.
Yeah.
Fine.
Well, I think that it does show that she's how clever she is, because she's like, okay, I'll buy the time. I'll wait and I'll play ball until I can, you know, basically knife you with the cutlery.
Yeah.
And I did always find that scene very odd. It almost sort of, it doesn't exactly stop the action, but it does seem, it does sort of take something away. I think it goes on too long.
Yeah, and him being obsessed with her, it feels very contrived, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, but it kind of works.
It's a small thing, but it's you know.
Yes. And I almost wonder whether it's more like maybe he's less interested in her and more interested in her as a trophy and something over Indy again. It's like, whatever's his, I will have.
I do get this slight impression that at least he does seem at least slightly more honourable to that she's a girl than.
Well, he is genuine later on when they throw her into the pit, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
He is like, what? No, like, don't do that. Like,
it's like the Nazi's like, I don't care, it's just a woman. Who cares? And he does sort of like go, no, well, you know, we got to treat her at least a bit better than that.
Yeah. So of course she's drinking during this scene with him, trying to outdrink him, and then he obviously reveals like, this is my family's drink. I've been drinking it since I was a child. And obviously that's not gonna work. And then of course she goes to escape, and he's like, well, there's desert in like miles and miles
every
around.
direction.
So
it's like 20 miles in every direction.
Good luck with that. And then we get a wonderful line again, another wonderful moment that I love in this film, where the evil Nazi man comes in and he looks at her and he's like, oh, you're so ridiculous, you're so overdressed, or so ridiculously dressed,
you're always overdressed,
and it's like, dude, you're wearing like a black leather trench coat and like black outfit in the middle of Cairo, or like in the desert outside of Cairo, like pot kettle black. Seriously.
And you also get that, I love that thing where it's been, again, it's another scene that's been done by other things later, but it's that scene where he brings out that device and it's all like bits of wood and chains, and you think, what the fuck is that? You think he's gonna hit her with it, and then it turns out to be a coat hanger, and he puts his coat on it. It's I love that. It's brilliant. It's a really good little scene.
So then, knowing where to dig, Indy gathers.
Actually, we did miss out the scene with where Indy finds her, and she's tied up.
Oh yes, of course he finds her tied up, and then and this is like, I've got to leave you here.
And then he realizes that if he lets her go, the Nazis will know that he's there, and they will go to the right place. So he leaves her tied up, the poor woman, which I think is brilliant. It's you know, it is one of those sort of like, you do realize that
he does promise to come back for her. He's like, I will come back for you later.
But you realize that he obviously, you know, he still is valuing the object over her.
Of course, absolutely. It's a very funny scene. Then knowing where to dig, he gets his own team of people. Presumably Salah arranges.
Through Salah,
to dig in the correct location.
It's probably Salah's extended family.
Probably. He's probably just got all the kids out there just digging. So they then start digging in the right place, and of course Indy finds the correct location.
And again, it's you get it's such a brilliantly shot
the shot of the dunes.
Diggers and,
yes,
and Indy sort of stood in front of them.
Another silhouette of Indy. With the hat.
It's a absolutely beautiful.
It's wonderful
scene.
Really is. So then Indy obviously descends into the location.
The Well of Souls.
The Well of Souls, and he finds the Ark.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you get all the snakes.
Oh yes, of course. Yes. So the crypt is full of snakes, and I love Salah's like. Why does he's like, it's very dangerous. You go first.
Go first.
That's a running thing as well. Like in this one, Salah's saying, "Why does the ground move?" And then in Temple, we've got Short Round with like sounds like fortune cookies, and yeah, it's like always something hideous on the ground is going to be kind of. But yeah, so they find the Ark, and they arrange to get it brought back up, but unfortunately the Nazis, or I think it's Balak actually, doesn't Balak see that there's people working over there, and he's like, why are people digging over there?
They come out in the morning sort of thing, and they can see the party digging, and he then realizes that they're obviously in the wrong place, and then he says, quick, grab all your men,
and they do. Them all like half the German army head over there. And they throw Marion in and seal the tomb.
Yeah.
Once the Grail's been taken up, obviously.
There's actually a scene that was taken out with Salah and the Germans. And
really?
Again, it's the reason was because of illness. He actually soiled himself when they were doing the scene, and they basically decided, well, maybe we should take that scene out, so they took it out.
Oh, fair enough. I'm not sure what happened in that scene, but
it's basically him. He's distracting the Germans, the two German officers.
Okay.
He's sort of going around them, and sort of like he's giving them food, and then he's spilling food on them and stuff like that to sort of distract them away from the sort of dig, which I think would have made more sense, because you keep. As you're watching that scene of them digging, you do sort of think, how come nobody just looked over? They're just there. No one noticed that they're digging. And I think it would have probably explained it a little bit more if you had that scene in. But
absolutely,
it was taken out.
Yeah. So they're sealed in. The Ark's taken by the Nazis, and Marion's thrown in, as we said before, and Balak is genuinely concerned and like, oh my god, because they would have killed her. I mean, it was pure luck that she didn't die, basically, or at least hideously injured her. Luckily she kind of does like a comedy caught on a, I don't know, is it a totem? I guess it's not a totem.
It's a statue, isn't it?
A statue of some sort.
I think they're supposed to be Anubis, but they've got sort of full on open mouths, which I've not seen in statues before. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, I've always thought about that. Even when I first watched it as a kid, I was like, how come all these snakes are in this sealed tomb?
And what are they living on? And
exactly.
How?
I always found that really odd.
Well, I assume, like, I don't know. I guess you can write some of this off as just like, well, like God literally exists in these series.
I guess
we have religious, powers and things going on. So maybe that's it. I don't know. I mean, it could be conceivable that the snakes have a method of going somewhere else.
You presume they can come in and out,
but then you wouldn't have imagined there'd be so many in there. But I guess maybe they're sheltering from the heat. I don't know. Do asps need to protect themselves? I would have thought, being snakes, they'd be all right in the heat. But
I was going to say they're exothermal, aren't they? So yeah.
Who knows? In any case, it makes for a wonderful visual as they're sealed in and using the last of the torches to try and fend off these snakes. Indy then climbs one of the columns.
It's a statue, isn't it? It's
a huge statue. And brings it down into the wall.
Yeah, because they can see. He can see that there's through a hole in one of the walls that snakes are coming in.
That's right.
So, yeah, which clearly looks like someone just forcing snakes through a hole.
Well, yes. So he brings the statue down, breaking the wall open, and they find their way out right next to an airport, or an airfield, anyway, a German airfield.
With the wing.
Yes, with the massive wing.
Such a cool looking plane.
It looks awesome, doesn't it? So they come out from a tomb which presumably people have been in before, but just didn't know that obviously behind that wall there was something else. Because it's quite obvious when you look at it on the hill. It's like that's quite obviously.
There's a clear entrance there.
But like I said, there's a wall between the two rooms, and you wouldn't have thought to break a wall.
No, not really.
To get somewhere else.
Not unless you knew otherwise, I suppose.
Exactly, unless you knew otherwise. So they then go down to sabotage the wing. Marion climbs in the gunner's seat.
Well, she climbs into the cockpit, and I think it goes. There must be a path through.
Yes, yeah.
And it gets the cockpit gets jammed, and so she can't get out.
Yes, and then she starts gunning down Nazis on the airfield, whilst Indy has a fist fight with this big muscle dude. I guess Indy knocks out one guy, and then this muscle guy is like, I can fight better.
Pilot,
Yeah, he knocks out the pilot.
And the pilot is what's his name? Hang on, I've got it here. Where is he? Oh, nope, that's it. Frank Marshall.
Oh, right, okay.
It's Frank Marshall, yeah. Apparently the guy who was playing the pilot couldn't make it or something, so Frank Marshall sort of stepped in. And of course, he's a massive producer. He produced the movie, and he produced shitloads of movies. He's a huge producer. But yeah, so he gets placed on. And then of course Pat Roach stands up. Pat Roach is like, I absolutely adore Pat Roach.
Yeah, me too.
He's the big muscle guy in so many movies.
He is, yeah, he's the go-to.
Because he was originally a wrestler, and he basically, like, I think his entire career, he basically played heavies. I think his probably most prominent role is Willow, isn't it? I think he's
possibly. Yeah,
he's the main he's the main guy in the general, isn't he? General in Willow.
Yeah.
So yeah, and of course, he'd previously already been taken down in the fight scene in the pub.
Yes.
The bar. He's the big guy in the bar that they fight.
But Indy realizes very quickly that he's not going to outfight this guy, and does a blood sport on him, throws sand in his eyes.
Yep.
And then we get that wonderful scene where he backs into the propeller.
Yeah, really gruesome. I mean,
great.
Obviously you don't see it, but you know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And the blood spurt across the plane is brilliant.
It's tremendous, and it also sets up this type of scene which repeats through every Indiana Jones movie from now on. The fight with you've got the Venice boats, you've got the tank on the side of the tank. You've got, there is one in Temple of Doom, I just can't remember what it is. It must be like a spike pit or so, I can't remember what it is. But either way, this happens now. There's always a fist fight on something really dangerous, or next to something that's really dangerous.
The fist fight it's in the
mines, isn't it?
Yes, the mines. That's
it's like a crushing thing or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a rock crusher.
That's right, it's a rock crusher. Yeah. So that is kind of echoed throughout the Indiana Jones series from that point on. But yeah, so they destroy the wing, which was intended to transport the Ark out of Cairo
back to Berlin. Yeah.
Yes, back to Berlin.
Suppose. Even though that's not where they end up, which is, weird. But anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So the Nazis instead decide to load the Ark onto a truck.
Yep.
And drive off in like a fleet of trucks across the desert. But Indiana Jones takes a horseback and catches them up, hijacking a truck.
We also get that brilliant line as well, and Salah says, Do you have a plan? What are you going to
No,
do?
I'm making this up as I go along.
I'm just making it up as I go along, which I think is fantastic.
Tremendous.
And off he goes galloping on that horse.
On the horse, and then commandeers a truck, and
one of the best chases ever.
yeah, it's great. It's great.
It's such a great chase and he seriously gets messed about on this thing. He gets like goes underneath the bloody truck, and he's like gets shot. And
he does get shot. He gets shot in the arm and all sorts.
Yeah.
And you get that wonderful moment where he's hanging off the front, and the Mercedes badge like bends off,
breaks off. Yeah. Which again, so many things have stolen from afterwards.
Oh, absolutely. This is the thing. I think people that watch this film for the first time would be like, "Oh, this is so cliched." It's like, well, this is where the cliches started.
Exactly.
To be honest,
This
it's like
came from.
It's like people watching. It's like people today watching Rocky for the first time. You just be like, "Oh, this is just the most cliched thing ever." It's like, well, no, this is where it started. Like, it's become cliche because of this movie, and a lot of things in Raiders have become cliche because of Raiders.
Yeah.
So yeah, wonderful chase, and that moment on the front of the truck is really sort of nail biting. And then of course he then drives the truck straight into. He's like, I am not messing around anymore, and straight into that Nazi car. And they're lucky they survived that one.
Yeah, if they would have flipped, they'd have been all squished.
Yeah, absolutely. So then Indy arranges transport of the Ark to London on a. I
always think that captain, like,
he's awesome. I love this captain. I love him.
Salam says to him, "They are family. If anything happens to them, I will find out," sort of thing. And I love that. It's brilliant.
But I love how nice this captain is. He's awesome.
Yeah, I think when you initially see him, you think, "Oh, this guy is totally going to be a bad guy," because he sort of like, you see like he spits on the ground, and you think, "Oh no, do we trust this guy?"
That's not a good character trait. It's a bad character trait.
And I love the Marion does that 3 kisses on Salah. It's like, this is for your children, this is for this, and this is for you, and she kisses him on the lips. Oh, it's so brilliant. I love that. And his face is...
and then he sings. What does he sing as he walks away?
It's the same thing that Data sings in Insurrection.
It is. Yes, it is. You're right.
It's
a much better rendition than the one they do in Insurrection, I might add.
Yeah, it's Gilbert and Sullivan, isn't it, I think?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Pirates of Penzance, I think?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So the boat takes off the next day and is intercepted by a U-boat.
Yeah. Which is the U-boat from Das Boot.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Yes, they were filming it. They were filming it at the same time, so they used it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Also, what we didn't say as well is the Well of Souls set. Literally, before it, the thing it was used for before that was the reception area of the Overlook Hotel.
Was it really? That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, it was the sound stage that was built on.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So the U-boat then they capture the Ark and sees Marion. The captain lies and says that they killed
Indy's
him.
Dead.
They killed him. They're like, he was no use to us. The woman would fetch a price on the market.
Yeah, he says he's going to sell her as a slave.
They make out to be like proper pirates and just hideous. Yeah. And then and they believe them because he's got a good poker face. This guy, he does have a good poker face. And the U-boat then takes off with the Ark and with Marion, with Indy presumably swimming out to the U-boat.
Again, it's another one of those ones that they for some reason they cut the scene out.
But is this scene actually? Was this a scene?
There's a scene where he lashes himself to the periscope.
Oh, nice.
And that's how he travels on the submarine, lashed to the periscope. So, and you do see it from a distance at one point, but for some reason they cut that scene out, and I don't know why, because it would have made that thing a lot more sense of how he actually got there.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, it does seem a bit weird, but in any case, they then head to. Oh yeah, that's right. So there's
some island, isn't it?
They're heading to an island where Belloc says we're going to test the Ark before we present it to Hitler. Mainly because he wants to, not because it's a test or anything. It's just for his own,
Yeah. And he wants this as the German says, I am very uncomfortable with this Jewish ritual.
Yes, and,
You see, he puts on like the most sort of ornate sort of Jewish.
It's ridiculous.
Sort of priest's garb.
Well, I guess if he genuinely believes in it, he's like, I am gonna, do everything by the book. It's literally God. Although you'd think that if he believed in it, he'd be like, well, then God is aware that I'm working with Nazis. Literally working with the Nazis.
Maybe not.
Like, maybe open this is a bad idea. So yes, and then en route, Indy, a wonderful scene where he ambushes the Nazi group with a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
And we get that wonderful moment where Balak's like, go on then.
Do it.
Destroy this priceless piece of history.
Just do it.
Go for it.
He completely calls his bluff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that scene. I think it's a wonderful scene that shows, his love of archaeology and his love of history, and that he would never have done it. It was obviously a bluff. And I like that Balak knows him well enough to know it's just a bluff.
That he's not going to do it,
So they're both taken prisoner. Well, Marion's already taken prisoner. Indy is then taken prisoner as well, and taken to the site. I assume only out of Balak's ego, because I would have thought the Nazis would have just shot him.
I think he wants to wallow over it, doesn't he? He wants to wallow in his victory over him. So that's why he keeps him alive.
Yeah. So they're both tied to a post, and while Balak performs a ceremony, and they open the Ark, and disappointingly,
nothing happens for a bit.
Only sand.
Yes.
Which I assumed was just the sand of the tablets. It's just been
I think
into nothing.
Also, but Bellic's under the impression that this is a way to talk to God. He says it's
he literally thinks he's going to be communicating to God.
He wants to talk to God, basically.
Well, he does, and it's not what he wanted. So things start to happen. We see a light within the Ark, within the sand, which begins escaping. Indy immediately tells Marion, presumably having studied under Ravenwood and read all the texts and stuff, he's like, close your eyes. This is terrible. So they both close their eyes, and we get a wonderfully animated scene of the light from the Ark going out and killing all the Nazi soldiers.
Ghostly figures that are flying out.
I love the so we get all the Nazi soldiers get killed by the light. Anyone with their eyes open. But the German in charge, the evil SS Nazi, and Balak get it the worst.
The Gestapo guy, yeah.
The Gestapo guy, yeah.
Yeah, they get full on face melty, head exploding.
So Balak's head explodes, which apparently to get past the rating they put fire in front of his face. But you can still see it if you look at it.
Exactly.
You can still see it.
It doesn't obscure that much. You still see his head explode.
I really wish they'd release a cut where they didn't do that, because it looks like a great effect.
I think to be fair,
the melting's way worse.
The face melting is way more horrific.
It's way worse.
The head explodes. It's horrible.
And I love the ghost of a pretty girl appears and then goes super evil and just melts his face off.
Turns into a skull.
Terrific.
And I mean, the face of the Gestapo guy was done with wax.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was wax. Yeah, they just melted it, didn't they?
And it was just time. It was basically time lapsed.
And it looks fantastic to this day. It looks amazing.
Awesome. It still looks great. And the really gooey sort of just grim.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's great.
And the general, his head just kind of gets crushed in.
Yeah, it sort of goes in, and it sort of melts a little.
Sort of a bit. But the money shot is definitely the evil Gestapo guy.
Top getting his face melted.
He gets it the worst. So justice is served, and all the Nazis are dead. The whirlwind then disappears, and then the lid falls back on top of the Ark, because it flies off into the sky and falls back down, which is very lucky, because I always thought if that didn't happen, then Indy and Marion would just have to stand there with their eyes closed forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they then open their eyes and realize the area is clear. And they also the rope's been removed because they were tied, and then they're, all of a sudden they're freed.
They're not.
Which again is divine intervention maybe, or
I think so.
Because nothing else gets damaged. It's only people that die.
Yeah. Oh no, the lights, all the lights get.
Oh, the lights go. But like for this rope specifically to break when nothing else does, would appear
definitely.
that by keeping their eyes closed,
Divine.
they showed respect and whatever, and they embrace and then they go back to Washington.
Yeah.
Where we get another very famous scene of Jones and Brody getting the payment, and then they ask, what are you going to do with the ark?
What are you going to do with it?
It's really dangerous. It shouldn't be opened. And they say,
top men.
Top men. And
top men looking into it.
And we get the wonderful shot of this massive warehouse full of things that should never be opened.
Yeah,
this treasure trove.
I'd love to know what else is in that bloody warehouse. I mean, obviously there's, at some point there's going to be an alien in there, but that
fucking scene annoyed me so much. I hate that scene. It annoyed. Why did they have to go there, and why did they have to show the ark on screen?
Oh, really? I love that. I think it's a nice callback.
I guess I don't mind them being there, but why did they have to show the ark specifically? It was like,
no, I think I like the fact that you see the ark. I think that's cool. I think it's
kind
funny.
Of annoyed me, but in any case, a wonderful shot.
That shot is that's it's a painting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a matte. Yeah, it's a matte with.
It's one of the best matte paintings that I've ever seen. It absolutely
great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it does look great. And with that, the movie comes to an end.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful film it is too.
It's such a great movie.
Of course, directed by Steven Spielberg, with Lawrence Kasdan screenplay, I think.
Yep.
And George Lucas. And
Philip
Kaufman. Yeah.
Yep.
And obviously scored by John Williams, but everyone knows that. If you listen to 5 seconds of the score, you're like, it's John Williams.
What a fucking score! I mean,
amazing.
It's another one of those times where the score makes the movie. It really does completely sell it. Everybody's got their own little theme and everything, and it's just again shows Williams is a complete master of his craft.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, do you know if it was it ILM that did the animation of the ghosts at the end, or was it Disney? Do we know?
I don't know actually. That one I don't know.
Because I know like Disney have got a history of doing animation. It kind of looks like one of those things. Because obviously they did like Forbidden Planet and stuff like that before.
But it kind of the ghosts are very reminiscent of the ones in Ghostbusters.
Actually, they kind of are. Actually,
so I'm guessing it's probably done by the same people.
Well, I think that was ILM actually.
Yeah, so it probably is.
Maybe it is just ILM. Yeah, but a wonderful film. I really, nitpicks aside, I cannot fault this movie. It's amazing.
No, I mean it was slightly ruined for me by The Big Bang Theory.
Oh right, I've never watched that. So
there's an episode where Sheldon shows Amy the movie,
right?
And at the end of the movie, she basically says, there was that he actually doesn't do anything in that movie. He has no impact on the Ark stuff at all. And it's like, what? And it's like, no, he doesn't. If anything,
well, actually, he does have an impact. He helps the Nazis.
He helps Nazis find it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh god, that I've never really thought about it like that. And it's just like, oh god. Luckily, it hasn't ruined the movie for me that much, but it did make me think about it in an entirely different way.
But isn't that Indiana Jones all over? That's like his character all over, that he basically accomplished nothing. But wonderful, wonderful film. And
I think as an adult now, it's definitely the best one.
You know what I have always said, and I will probably always say that for me, The Last Crusade is my favourite, but I must admit, rewatching it the other day, I was like, oh, maybe not. I was like, oh, actually, now that I'm rewatching it, I'm like, it's close. It's really close, but it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's great in it. It's it's just all top notch direction, top notch, cinematography.
Yeah, I mean it's in the it's National Film Registry now, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the ultimate, adventure movie, and again, it like a lot of like with Star Wars and stuff, it started the trend. It started everybody wanted their Indiana Jones, and you've got so
absolutely.
many knockoffs afterwards. King Solomon's Mines with Chamberlain, and everybody wanted an Indiana Jones after that. So yeah, it truly is the beginning of all that that stuff.
Yeah. Well, what a movie. Hard to fault, really. Like I said, one of the best films ever made. One of my favorite films, certainly. Incredible. So I guess next week we'll be back to our
more review show.
More reviews. Well, I say next week. We'll probably record it this weekend if you're around.
Yep. I expect so.
Because we've got an extra day because it's a bank holiday.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Not that it matters anymore.
No, not really.
Make any difference to my life whether I've got a day off or not. But it does mean we can record, so we'll probably record this weekend. But in any case, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next time.